So, today's podcast, I will start with two of my beliefs. First, the human beings have a sole purpose to be happy, and we are all in a constant pursuit of happiness. And this joy is doubled when you become parent. But for few families who have premature babies, this is overshadowed by sorrow. These tiny miracles are struggling with a lot of unique problems during their premature era. And this brings me the second belief, which is every healthcare professional has a sole purpose of making people happy, and healthcare technology is no exception for that.
Our mission is to help extremely premature infants to grow up to their full potential.
And I think this feeling is beyond any valuation or any money or anything. I think it is not only saving life of a child, but actually it is saving life of a mother and a father.
It's a collective. Probably 100 different people have contributions in significant ways for such a device.
Hello everyone. Welcome to our new episode of Healthcare Musings with Nilesh. So today's podcast, I will start with two of my beliefs. First, the human beings have a sole purpose to be happy, and we are all in a constant pursuit of happiness. And this joy is doubled when you become parent. But for few families who have premature babies, this is overshadowed by sorrow. These tiny miracles are struggling with a lot of unique problems during their premature era. And this brings me the second belief, which is every healthcare professional has a sole purpose of making people happy. And healthcare technology is no exception for that. So, with that, I would like to call upon Mr. Rajagopalan Srinivasan, Director of Engineering at Vitara Biomedical. They are revolutionizing the premature neonatal technology. And over to you, Rajgopalan. Please, could you introduce yourself?
Certainly. I am Rajagopalan Srinivasan, work for Vitara Biomedical, based out of Philadelphia in the United States. Our mission is to help extremely premature infants to grow up to their full potential without suffering from any consequences of the extremely premature delivery, if you will. And we are working on a medical device that we are in the process of getting some approvals to try with real human patients. And we are on the verge of this major breakthrough of being able to take this device to real patients. When the device itself has been under development well over 7 or 8 years. Vitara Biomedical is about 4.5, 5 years old. In the 5 years, we have taken the technology from concept and prototype to something already for clinical use. And that's where we are. And thank you very much for inviting me.
Okay, welcome, sir. Let's start with a few of our questions. Like, what are the challenges faced by premature infants? Can you elaborate on that?
When we talk about premature infants, you talk about gestational age. Uh, the no, you know, depending on when the delivery takes place. In other words, depending on the gestational age at which the delivery takes place, um, the maturity, the physiological maturity of the infant um, will be different. As you can imagine, um, fetuses during their entire period of gestation, let us say of the order of 40 weeks, uh, the fetus develops slowly and steadily. This is a subject of developmental biology. Um, so, depending on when the actual delivery takes place, the quality of the physiology of the baby, as well as the quality of life long term, gets affected. That is a very broad 100,000 feet type overview. Um, I think, yeah.
Okay. So what are the current limitations of the current methods of premature neonatology?
I'm not a physician, I'm a technologist. So, from a technological standpoint, one of the primary medical devices that may be considered in this space um, is an incubator. You may have heard the term incubator.
Yeah.
Incubator is used where the baby is housed and the environment of the baby is controlled very, very tightly. And the physicians, they decide how long the patient or the baby lives in the incubator before um, before getting out of that therapy. So, from a medical device standpoint, it is the incubator, which is the standard of care. Um, yeah.
So in the incubator, what are the rooms of improvement? Like the technology is improving, uh, and hence the incubator need to get improved from the current state to what are the rooms of improvement here?
So, in the case of an incubator, if you think about the baby, the environment is almost like the environment that any human being has, except extremely well controlled. You have air to breathe, to keep the temperature. There's ways to provide um, a nutrition, perhaps, and so on and so forth. So that I think the current state of the art incubators is amazing, and the incubators are um, uh, the improvements have been in many different areas, including additional therapies that you can include in addition to things like the temperature. You may have seen incubators, they have a light shining on the baby, um, major, certain parts of the baby. In case of, it's a bilirubin, I mean, you may think of it as it is providing a certain type of treatment in addition to providing a good warm environment. Um, in order to thrive, in order to become, uh, to reach full potential in an incubator assumes that certain other things in terms of development have taken place. And that means that uh, the patient, the baby, is able to take full advantage of this environment provided by the incubator. Now, depending on when the delivery really takes place, depending on the gestational age when that takes place, the ability of the baby to thrive, to fully thrive in an incubator, um, there is a little bit variation there. In other words, the key parameter here is the age, gestational age at the time of delivery. If gestational age is 35 or 36, which means that you're not premature by too much, just by a few weeks, the chances of the baby thriving in the incubator and succeeding phenomenally are very, very high. If the gestational age at the time of delivery is a lot earlier, that means that the patient, the baby, has not had a chance to grow its physiology completely. Then the ability to take advantage of the incubator is a little bit curtailed because, as you know, the baby stays in the mother for X amount of time. It doesn't start off the full size. It builds up. The baby grows over this period during gestation. When you say grow, the development of the physiology takes place in stages. This is subject of development biology, and different parts of your body will grow at different stages. For example, you have a brain. The brain uh, starts very small and slowly the brain builds up and builds up, spinal cord, and so on and so forth. I don't want to go into the entire stages of development, but the fundamental point is that the gestation period uh, directly has a correlation on the completeness of developmental stage, how the physiology, whether it is complete, whether the baby is able to function completely or not, or does the baby have some deficiencies and hence it needs to, let us say, stay in an incubator for X amount of time before the baby is able to be completely on its own, like the normal world at home, treated by the family. So I know it's very, very broad and very somewhat maybe a little vague, but afraid I cannot go much more into that.
No, that explains the complexity of this whole situation of neonatal care. Can you briefly describe Vitara's approach in this particular care?
Vitara's approach is to, provide an environment somewhat similar to the natural environment, which is mother's womb. And that's about all I can say. I mean, so we tremendously increase the ability of the baby to continue the growth, continue the development, because you try to provide an environment that is very, very close to the way it is in the womb. Now, it is very, very important to emphasize. It's very, very important. There is a reason there are indications for the use of the product. In other words, obviously, the preferred, the default way is the preferred way. Mother nurtures the baby, carries it to the full term. The natural birth takes place at the end of natural gestation. There are circumstances, extremely difficult as it may be, where for a humongous number of reasons, in certain number of pregnancies, that become difficult to do, impossible to. I think we should kind of leave it like that. In other words, this is not an elected procedure. This is not something that you say, hey, do I want to go make use of this device? It is, we are trying to provide a solution where there may be no alternative. Um, in other words, it is somewhat like an emergency type of situation you might think of.
I'm just trying to understand, like, how did the this whole idea got conceptualized, and when did you start Vitera?
Okay.
Can you throw some light on that?
Children's Hospital of Philadelphia is one of the premier institutions in the world uh, for children's health. And there are um, the very, very difficult cases may end up coming to CHOP. In other words, it's not, maybe a little bit more than a normal practicing hospital. It is a research oriented institution. So, our doctors who are involved in this business 8, 10 years ago uh, thought that, hey, we are running into these kind of situations. How can we help that situation? If you go to YouTube and look for, let us say, top channel, maybe I can send you a link a little bit later in the day. That might give you some inkling about origins of this technology.
Okay.
So the dream is by the surgeons, the neonatologists involved in treating such difficult cases. That is where the idea was made. Then you have to translate that into um, a device, if you will, and that was done by a technology partner. And 5 years ago, Vitara was formed to inherit all that technology and perfect it, take it through all the regulatory expectations, and make it ready to be used in a real clinical situation with a human patient. So, in other words, this is For those of you who are in the medical device world, this is the standard procedure, except due to the complexity of what we are trying to do, due to the complexity of our patient, uh, it just takes a long time, 8 years, 10 years, versus other simpler devices. Their cycle might be, I don't know, 2 years or things like that. So in our case, it's a very long time because of the complexity of what we are trying to do.
Yeah, and I think with complexity is very delicate nature of neonatal care, because the baby at this point of time is very, very, very delicate, and it has to be taken care of in a like a very
Abs-
refined precision manner.
yes,
So yeah. So are there any other revolutionary developments happening in the neonatal care? If you can throw some light on it, apart from Vitera, or what are other things which are going on?
the the problem that we are tackling is very real, and there are many other groups in Toronto, Canada, in Michigan, uh, definitely overseas. There are many different laboratories who are pursuing solution to a problem very similar to ours. Um, so clearly, with varying levels of success, I think that we have advanced the farther. Again, this is one type of uh, physiological challenge that we are tackling. There are others, such as, I don't know, you think of genetic abnormalities.
Hmm.
Then there are any number of groups elsewhere who are trying to figure out how to address those types of, the genetic disposition for certain uh, fatal condition, how you deal with that. So there are groups like that working on such problems across the globe. Like you said, end of the day, um, good quality of life is the ultimate goal, and we have tackled one small slice of overall problem space. Um, there are many others working on related problems.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so, do you envision that technology or AI playing a very vital role in neonatal care?
In the care, in order for AI to be applied in a real clinical setting, there has to be lot of data to learn from. You have to learn from the past in order to apply, in order to translate. You can't dream up. So it depends on the specific problem and the specific monitoring, the specific therapy that you are uh, addressing. Then that leads you to where you can apply the AI or any such technology. Um, do we know enough about taking care of a premature baby? Not enough. We don't know enough at this point to apply learning and then apply to future. So, in my opinion, we have to build up a knowledge base with many successful patients before we can apply. And this is true for anything. I mean, right? Any medical device. In order for you to apply that, you need to know so much about. If you're talking about diabetes uh, disease, you got to know a lot about diabetes. What are the factors and what helps and what improves, and only based on that you can apply all of that knowledge to a particular patient. So in a similar way, I mean, you got to have enough of knowledge, which this point we don't. Um, you know, over a period of time, it will happen. It is inevitable because AI is extremely powerful, and in order, I mean, it is the rate at which data is getting accumulated, knowledge and data points are getting accumulated is way too much, whereby it is impossible to for normal practitioners to kind of comprehend all of that and come up with an essence what will apply to a particular case. So AI will bridge that gap. It has the potential to bridge that gap, but in order for it to be effective, you got to have a lot of places to learn from.
Yes, of course. Yeah. So, as director of engineering, what are the challenges and hurdles do you see and face in development and implementation of this kind of a solution?
There are quite a number of them. Uh, one of the major difficulties that I can point to is that this patient is unique. There is not a whole lot of knowledge about this patient type. Doctors know a lot, neonatologists know a lot, but they all of that is not in a form that is easily transferable to our device. So the many solutions that we implement are like the first of its kind. And in terms of vetting those solutions, in terms of validating those solutions, uh, it is pretty challenging.
Challenging, yeah.
And that is a at a very high level, that is one kind of very serious difficulty that any engineering team trying to do such a thing would face. And if you peel the onion a little bit, it is very multidisciplinary. Our device, as well as many other medical devices nowadays, you have a complex mechanical element to it. There's a very complex electrical element to it, very complex software element to it. And when you think of all this and the quote unquote human who is going to be interacting with the system, so when you throw all this together, it is a giant engineering challenge. So the first dimension is to have an approach. This is multidisciplinary, which means that people who have to participate have to be drawn from many different fields who all have to come together and talk a similar language, and they are working on this common solution but that incorporates many different. You may have experts in fluidics, you may have experts in gas flow, you may have experts in um, I don't know, temperature control, but you also have to have experts in um, signal processing, right? Signal processing. And software that can merge all of these together. And finally, people who understand your user population. Are they clinicians? Are they doctors? Are they end user patients? Is it, you know, who is interacting, and how, what is the right way to interact with that user? So as an engineer, these are the things that I'm dealing with on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Does
Okay.
that make sense to you? I mean, the
Yes,
multi,
yes, definitely.
yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead.
definitely. I understand that. I myself, being electronics engineer, then turned to software, understand the whole core engineering concept. So I can understand working in a multi environment,
Yep,
and where and it is very it has to be highly precision, fall proof, fail proof environment.
exactly, exactly. That's
It has
exactly
to work every time. That's it.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. So
understand.
these are the things, but that's what makes it all um, worthwhile, challenging, interesting. Whatever you might call it. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
that's what
yeah.
keeps us going.
So
End of the
yeah.
day, what keeps going is the results, the patient, our target
Yeah.
population.
Definitely, definitely. So, like beyond the medical benefits, how do you envision Vitera brings in impacting or brings in emotional well-being for premature babies and their families?
Oh, it is a world of difference for uh, for a family that may be confronted with uh, a fairly challenging um, quality of life. This changes the game. It absolutely changes the game, which means that parents can feel comfortable that their child is not under any tremendous disadvantage, because I don't think any parent wants their children to be at a disadvantage. Every parent wants them to have all the advantages that they deserve. And definitely, in this case, it has the potential uh, to bring that level of, uh, you know, happiness, if you will, to the parents.
Okay, great, great. So, in general, how do you see the role of healthcare technology in our society, and what are we lacking, and what are the areas of improvement?
Um, Access is definitely a significant consideration. I'm not talking about our current Vitara, but in my life, I have worked on uh, cardiovascular devices for uh, insulin delivery, for example, for diabetes, and these tend to be um, uh, somewhat out of reach for most common people, either because of cost or because of variety of things. For example, um, my previous company introduced our cardiovascular device in India only about 4 years ago, whereas my company had been operating in the United States for 10 years.
Yeah.
So it took a lot of effort within the company to go to a new market such as India, for example. So you can imagine patients in India would then be correspondingly uh, taking a certain amount of time or they have access to that technology. That is true for our technology.
Well, yeah.
Uh, uh, I'm not again a commercial person. I don't dictate those things. But again, right now our device is a US. Um, we are a US based company. We are a US based uh, market. Our market is US based. Um, when such a thing would reach a society like Indian society, there's a time gap. There's a certain timeline. So these are some challenges in our society in terms of possibilities and access to those possibilities.
Right, right, right.
This is I'm pretty sure there are devices being designed in India that we could use here, but because of regulatory reasons, we can't have them here. I mean, maybe you are going through some FDA approval or
Right.
things of that nature. So um, the borders and the different regulatory islands that you have is one such challenge. But the commercial, the cost aspects are definitely not to be downplayed.
Okay. So yeah, definitely I understand your point. And at Immorphis Health, we are at a mission of bringing the healthcare reach to all the masses and at an affordable price.
Yeah,
So it has to be affordable and accessible to everyone. That is our mission.
yeah.
So yeah. Last but not least, if you were to give any advice to healthcare entrepreneurs, what would it be?
Um, be prepared for the long haul, but the ends justify the means. The end goal, when if you save one patient, that is one patient that you have saved. And being in the business, having been involved in such a thing, you can't believe what a what a mental satisfaction that it gives you. Uh, you help one patient, you save one patient. It's just an amazing feeling to be able to say that my device helped this person live or lead a
Yes.
better life or whatever. I mean, that is an amazing, amazing. In my previous company, uh, the way the inspiration comes from an annual festival where we bring in patients who have benefited from our device, and we will celebrate their life. Every engineer, every technician, everybody in the company gets to meet this person, say hello, shake
Wow.
hands,
Wow.
and you walk away from that person and say, hey, that person is living comfortably today, happily, just like you and me, with no deficiency whatsoever. And that happened because of the device that I work. I mean, it is very hard to uh, explain that.
I can understand.
You have been involved in such things, you will understand. It is something very difficult to explain to others, but that is what is the keeps us going. It's the lesson for entrepreneurs, I think, from my standpoint. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think this feeling is beyond any valuation or any money or anything, because once you have reached to this and you experience that the patient who has been touched upon with your piece of technology, and he or she is living a very fruitful life and happy life because your technology is making a difference. That is the phenomenal feeling.
Indeed, absolutely, absolutely, and I
and
highly.
and when And when I think about your the Vitara device, I think it is not only saving life of a child, but actually it is saving life of a mother and a father, because they are going to be the mother. So it is touching upon not one single life; it is touching a complete family. So I would like to congratulate on your invention, and hope that this is a grand success, and we are hoping to see it very soon in the production, in reaching out to more and more lives.
Thank you so much, Nilesh. I do want to, uh, just to re-emphasize that it's a collective. I mean, probably 100 different people have contributions in significant ways for such a device.
Definitely.
As you can imagine, no one person can come up with the whole thing. It's a collective effort. So we are very proud at Vitara to be part of that. Um, Thank you so much. Hey, good to talk to you, Nilesh.
Thank
Um,
you. It was pleasure having you at our podcast.
Wonderful. Really appreciate. Thank you for inviting.
Thank you. Thank you.